Rafael Sunsao versus Cody Garbrandt. First off, let's look at their ages. Rafael is 37 years old. He's without a doubt one of the oldest, if not the oldest bantamweight in the UFC right now. I mean, he's 37, and he's still ranked 5th in the world. Cody, on the other hand, he's 9 years younger at 28 years old, which is, quite a bit younger than Rafael. But, he's on a 3-fight skid right now, from losing to former bantamweight champ TJ Dillashaw back-to-back. And then after that, he fought the number 7th ranked bantamweight in Pedro Munoz and lost to him as well. Those 3 fights were all against opponents that were in the top 10. But Rafael, on the other hand, his last 2 fights were against fighters in the top 5. He's also on a losing streak, but the people he's just lost to are Marlon Moraes and Corey Sandhagen, 2 of the best bantamweights in the world. In my opinion, I think when Rafael and Cody go out there, I think Cody will look a little bit better than he did in his last fights. But just because Rafael has so much experience in the fight game, and he's beaten so many people that are in the top 5, I'm going to have to pick Rafael to win this fight. If you agree with or disagree with my prediction, tell me why in the comment section below. But that's it for the video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Aljamain Sterling versus Corey Sandhagen is probably the closest fight to predict on this fight card. Sterling is 30 years old, 5'6", and weighs exactly 135 pounds. Corey is 28 years old and is 5'9", and is also 135 pounds. Right now, Corey Sandhagen is in a complete tear through this division with 5 straight victories, including his last fight, which was against Rafael Sunsao, who was actually the favorite to win the fight right after this one. And that fight against Rafael is the only notable win inside the octagon. A lot of people are believers in Corey Sandhagen and that he'll beat Aljamain. But let's just take a look at Aljamain's previous fights. Some of the people he's beaten include Renan Barão and Cody Stamann. But he has also lost to someone that Sandhagen has beat, who is Rafael Sunsao. And he also lost to Marlon Moraes by knockout. My prediction is going to be based off of their last fights. Aljamain has lost to 2 people that are in the top 5, and 1 person that's not even ranked. Corey hasn't lost to anyone inside the octagon, and he's on a 5-fight win streak. And yeah, Sterling is also on a 4-fight win streak, but none of the people he's beaten were in the top 5. Corey has beaten someone in the top 5 in his win streak. Aljamain hasn't. So my prediction is that Corey Sandhagen is going to win this fight by way of knockout in round 3. Now, if you agree or disagree with my prediction, make sure to tell me why down in the comment section below. Make sure to like and subscribe if you don't want to miss any fight predictions or analysis in the future. It's been your boy Bert, and I'll catch you in the next one. Alright, so the first fight on the prelims is Evan Dunham versus Herbert Burns. And it's actually a catchweight fight, which is kind of strange. I've been thinking about this one, and I'm going to have to go with the underdog, Herbert Burns, just because, I have faith in him. I think he's going to get the dub on this one. The second fight on here is Alonzo Menfield versus Devin Clark. Alonzo Menfield is undefeated, 9-0, but he's 32 years old, which isn't too old. Devin Clark is 30 years old, 11-4, so I'm going to have to go with the favorite in Alonzo Menfield on this one. The next fight on this card is Jussier Formiga versus Alex Perez. Jussier Formiga has been on the top for quite a while now, but because of his last fight, he just lost to Brandon Moreno. I'm just like, I don't think he's going down a good road right now. I think he's gonna lose this fight against Alex Perez. They have like the same record in 23-7, 23-5. Alex Perez has 2 less losses, but, he hasn't fought the best. But Jesse Formiga is just kind of on a decline right now, so I'm going to have to give it to the underdog, Alex Perez, on this one. The next fight is Charles Bard. I don't know how to say that. Charles Bird, I think, versus Maki Pitolo. I'm not actually sure on this one. I don't know, but I'm just going to say right now, just Charles Bird. I'm gonna guess Charles Bird in this middleweight fight. The next fight, this is an interesting one. Okay, Cody Stamann versus Brian Kelleher. I don't know. Brian Kelleher, he's good. He's liked by all the fans. But, he's 21-10. But he does take a lot of fights. It's kind of like the Cowboy Cerrone of his division. But, I think Cody Stamann's got this one. He's the favorite in this fight. 18-2. Yeah, I think Cody Stammann's going to win that fight. The next fight is at middleweight. It is Ian Heinisch versus Gerald Meerschaert. I actually watched both of these guys' last fights, and Gerald Meerschaert, he didn't look too good. Yeah, he wasn't doing the best. And Ian Heinisch, he had a pretty solid performance out there. Pretty solid, but he still lost his last fight. But Gerald Meerschaert's last fight, let's check that. He won, but it wasn't against like a really, really good fighter. I'm not sure. His record's 13-12. Ian Heinisch is 13-3. Gerald Meerschaert's a veteran, so. Alright, I'm gonna have to go with the underdog in Gerald Meerschaert, just because he's a lot more experienced in the fight game. Just because he's on a win streak. Ian Heinisch has lost his last two. He's on a losing streak. So I'm going to go with Gerald Meerschaert on this one, the underdog. The next fight is Alex Caceres versus Chase Hooper at featherweight. Chase Hooper is one of those up-and-comers where you don't know. He hasn't fought, like really good people, so we know that, he's legit. So I think after this fight, if he gets a win on this one, he'll be known, better. People will have more respect for him. And, I don't know. Alex Caceres has fought quite a bit, but his record kind of stinky. 15-12. Chase Hooper is 9-0, so. Dang. I don't know. He's 20 years old. Alex Caceres is 31. I'm going to go with the upset. A lot of people are thinking Chase Hooper is going to win this fight, but he's 20 years old. I just don't see it. I just don't see it happening. I think his first loss is coming on this fight card right now versus Alex Caceres. So, those are my prelim predictions. If you agree, disagree, whatever, make sure to write that in the comment section below. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe if you don't want to miss any more content from me. And it's been fun. See ya. Sean O'Malley versus Eddie Wineland is basically an old versus young fight, with established veteran Eddie Wineland taking on one of the most hyped prospects in the UFC right now, Sean O'Malley. Eddie Wineland is 35 years old. He's 5'6", 135 pounds, and he has a reach of 69 inches. Sean O'Malley is 25 years old, 5'9", 135 pounds, and has a reach of 72 inches. Okay, let's first look at Wineland's record. He's 24-13. He has one tie, and he's fought guys like Joseph Benavidez, Uriah Faber, Renan Barão, and John Dodson. But he lost to all of them. O'Malley has only fought twice in the UFC, winning both to retain his 11-0 undefeated streak. The guys he beat weren't the best, but they were still good. And he's only 25 years old, so he's just getting started. This fight for O'Malley is a big step up from the other two guys he faced, but I think he'll get it done in round 2. Okay, if you agree, disagree, or have anything else to say, make sure to put it in the comments. Make sure to like, subscribe, if you don't want to miss any predictions or analysis. It's been fun, but I'll see you in the next one. Neil Magny versus Anthony Rocco Martin are two fighters with very similar records. Neil Magny is 22-7 with wins over Carlos Condit, Johnny Hendricks, Hector Lombard, and Kelvin Gastelum. He's been fighting in the UFC since 2013, and he is 32 years old. He's also 6'2" and weighs 170 pounds, and he has a really good reach with 80 inches. When you look at the guys he's beaten, one was a title challenger, one was a champ, and one was an interim champ. Now, if you look at Martin's resume, he basically hasn't beaten anyone noteworthy. He gets little streaks here and there, but those streaks aren't against the best fighters. Not to mention, he's 2 inches smaller than Magny at 6 foot. He's 30 years old and also weighs 170 pounds. But his reach is significantly smaller than Magny's. I think that just because Magny has beaten so many more top-tier fighters, and Martin, he hasn't beaten anyone really, and his reach is just way shorter. I'm gonna have to give this win to Magny. Alright, if you agree or disagree with my predictions, just make sure to go down in the comment section and tell me why or why not. Also, make sure to like, subscribe if you don't want to miss any more UFC predictions and analysis. It's been fun, but I'll see you in the next one. The first fight was Herbert Burns versus Evan Dunham. And at the beginning of that fight, Herbert got hit with a left hand that knocked him down, but he got up really, really fast. Immediately after he got up to his feet, he took Dunham down and got his back and sunk in a neck crank in like a minute and a half. Like, he got the submission in round 1, and it wasn't even halfway through it. That was insane. And, I have a feeling that this kid, he's going to be a really good fighter in the featherweight division, and I think in the near future, he could become a title challenger. Who knows? The second fight on the card was Alonzo Menifield versus Devin Clark. Clark immediately shot for the takedown, but failed. So he held him on the fence for a while until Menifield reversed the position and had Clark on the fence. He let go and started throwing bombs, one of which rocked Clark and got him a little cut on his left or right eye. After that, Clark shot for another takedown to avoid getting knocked out because he was rocked. But when they released Menifield, he got off the fence until he had enough and started striking until Clark hit a big shot that stunned Menifield. And, that was the end of the first round. But in the second round, Menifield was noticeably slower because this was way longer than the fight that he's used to. His average fight time is in round 1, so them being in round 2 is an accomplishment for him because he's not really ever there. So in round 2, they basically just kept trading shots, but it seemed like Menifield had gotten some more powerful shots, but Clark had more shots. So, Clark is doing a little bit better on the scorecards right now. So with half of the round over, Menifield landed a couple more good shots, but when he was done throwing his haymakers, he would just hold Clark on the fence because this is the longest fight of his career, and he's just way too tired. He didn't condition enough for this fight. So at this point, Clark had more strikes landed, and yeah, so after this round, Clark landed some good knees to the body, and with just 10 seconds left, he completely rocks Menifield. He got a really good shot on his chin, But, there was 10 seconds left, so the round ended. But in the third round, Clark landed another big shot, another one, and he started to notice how tired Menfield is. He was just noticeably weak, noticeably tired, noticeably way less power in his hands. In the first round, he had so much power, but in this third round, his power had diminished to a 5-year-old girl. So Clark, he had a small cut at the beginning, which I told you about, but in this third round, it kind of started to swell, but it's fine because Menfield and Clark were kind of in a clinch war, so it wasn't that swelling was going to affect them that much because they weren't doing a striking battle. They were more of a clinch battle. So with 2 minutes 30 left in the fight, halfway through the third round, it kind of seemed that Clark was winning the fight, and he had a lot more significant strikes at this point. And all the way up to the end of the fight, they were basically holding each other until wow, the end, the final 20 seconds or so. They threw bombs, they threw haymakers. It was insane. They tried to knock each other out, but that didn't happen. So after these 3 rounds, the fight went to the scorecards, where Alonzo Menfield was handed his first MMA loss, with the scorecards reading 30-27, 29-28, and 29-28 for Devin Clark. Devin Clark is now on a 2-fight win streak, and he's looking to add a number to his name after his next fight. But, we'll see. The third fight was Alex Perez versus Jussier Formiga, and at the start, it was basically just Alex Perez starting out with some crisp leg kicks, and he also landed a couple of headshots, which were pretty nice. Alex Perez started to chop at that leg, which it kind of looked a little bit damaged, and they started to trade a couple head strikes, but not enough that would be able to knock someone out. But in the middle of the round, I would say Perez was looking like the better fighter. He was landing more strikes, and he was still chopping at that leg. And with just a minute 30 left in the round, Perez just stung Formiga and knocked him down with a leg kick. He got up again, but he chopped the leg 2 more times, and he actually finished Formiga. He finished him with a leg kick. Bro, I think we're looking at a new title challenger here. Oh my. Alright, that's all the fights for the early prelims. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe, and yeah. The second fight on the card was Alonzo Menfield versus Devin Clark. Clark immediately shot for the takedown, but failed. So he held him on the fence for a while until Menfield reversed the position and had Clark on the fence. He let go and started throwing bombs, one of which rocked Clark and got him a little cut on his left or right eye. After that, Clark shot for another takedown to avoid getting knocked out because he was rocked. But when they released Menfield, he got off the fence until he had enough and started striking until Clark hit a big shot that stunned Menfield. And, that was the end of the first round. But in the second round, Menfield was noticeably slower because this was way longer than the fight that he's used to. His average fight time is in round 1, so them being in round 2 is an accomplishment for him because he's not really ever there. So in round 2, they basically just kept trading shots, but it seemed like Menfield had gotten some more powerful shots, but Clark had more shots. So, Clark is doing a little bit better on the scorecards right now. So with half of the round over, Menfield landed a couple more good shots, but when he was done throwing his haymakers, he would just hold Clark on the fence because this is the longest fight of his career, and he's just way too tired. He didn't condition enough for this fight. So at this point, Clark had more strikes landed. And yeah, so after this round, Clark landed some good knees to the body, and with just 10 seconds left, he completely rocks Menfield. He got a really good shot on his chin, but there was 10 seconds left, so the round ended. But in the third round, Clark landed another big shot, another one, and he started to notice how tired Menfield is. He was just noticeably weak, noticeably tired, noticeably way less power in his hands. In the first round, he had so much power, but in this third round, his power had diminished to a 5-year-old girl. So Clark, he had a small cut at the beginning, which I told you about, but in this third round, it kind of started to swell, but it's fine because Menfield and Clark were kind of in a clinch war, so it wasn't that swelling was going to affect them that much because they weren't doing a striking battle. They were more of a clinch battle. So with 2 minutes 30 left in the fight, halfway through the third round, it kind of seemed that Clark was winning the fight, and he had a lot more significant strikes at this point, and all the way up to the end of the fight, they were basically holding each other until the end, the final 20 seconds or so. They threw bombs, they threw haymakers. It was insane. They tried to knock each other out, but that didn't happen. So after these 3 rounds, the fight went to the scorecards, where Alonzo Menfield was handed his first MMA loss, with the scorecards reading 30-27, 29-28, and 29-28 for Devin Clark. Devin Clark is now on a 2-fight win streak, and he's looking to add a number to his name after his next fight. But, we'll see. The first fight on the main event of UFC 250 was longtime veteran Eddie Wineland versus Sugar Sean O'Malley. At the start of the fight, nothing really happened with a lot of empty strikes, but Eddie then landed a good counter on Sean, but a little bit after that, Sean landed one of the best right hands I've ever seen. Literally outstanding. He knocked out Eddie. Eddie went to sleep. He went Z. It was an absolutely amazing performance by Sean O'Malley, getting the win in the first round. If you didn't believe in the hype train before, you ought to believe it now. Oh my god. Alright. Now that I've gotten over the last fight, we got a new fight in Neil Magny versus Anthony Rocco Martin. And in the beginning of this fight, they were both getting the same amount of strikes, and Martin tried to get Magny down for a while, but he failed with 2 minutes left, where Magny kept on chopping on Martin's legs oof. With 1 minute 30 left, Martin got Magny in the clinch again, but he couldn't do anything with it. He tried again, but just like the other attempts, he failed. And that was basically it for the first round. In the second round, Martin tagged Magny with a nice hit, and then took Magny down with a pretty big slam. But, again, he didn't do anything, as Magny got up and took control of it, but they released and began striking again. They ended up going right back to the clinch, where, again, nothing happened, and then they went back to the feet, nothing happened, and honestly, I didn't really know who was winning at this point because both fighters haven't done really much of anything. The only reason I would say that Martin's winning is because maybe the takedown, but that's about it. And to start the third round, Martin shot in for another takedown, but he missed it. He almost got it. He was about a second harder. If he went a little bit harder, he probably would have gotten it, but he didn't get it. So after that, Magny actually went for a takedown of his own, but he failed just like Martin did. And Martin was looking really tired for some reason, so Magny took this as an opportunity and started to land some really good shots. And he made Martin even more tired than he already was. Neil Magny then had a really good combination that hurt Martin and set Magny up to get in the clinch, where, again, nothing happened. At this point, Martin is so tired, he can't really throw any shots at Martin until, the last 30 seconds, oh my god. They both threw really heavy shots and hurt each other right before the end of the fight, but it went to the scorecards. So, the judges scored it 30-27, 30-27, 29-28, which I think he got the win because of that third round, which was heavy punches that hurt Martin. So, Magny won the fight 30-27, 30-27, 29-28, which is pretty good, but it wasn't like a very good performance. I think he was kind of conserving himself, sort of, because at the end of the fight, he didn't look tired at all. He looked completely fine. Well, on to the third fight on this main card, which was Aljamain Sterling versus Corey Sandhagen. At the beginning of the fight, Sterling went out fast and got Sandhagen's back, and he almost got the submission. He went at it again and actually got under Sandhagen's chin, and he put him to sleep. I thought this fight was going to be an absolute war, but Sterling just showed us why he should get the next title shot with Peter Yan, not Jose Aldo. Him, Aljamain Sterling, just put on one of the best performances I've ever seen. Jose Aldo is coming off a loss. I don't know why he's in the title shot. I think that Aljamain Sterling should be in the title shot, but we'll see about that. That was just an amazing performance by Aljo there. The next fight on this card was the co-main event, which was Rafael Sunsao versus Cody Garbrandt. At the beginning of this fight, Cody hit a couple good leg kicks and then started to figure each other out a little bit. Cody then hit a good right hand as Rafael couldn't find an answer for any of Cody's hits. He kept on landing good leg kicks and good combos until the end of the round, but Cody was looking a lot better than he did in his last 3 fights. But he was still losing the fight because Rafael had hit some non-powerful shots, but he's just hitting more shots. So in the second round, Cody landed some more good leg kicks that were starting to affect Rafael. They're kind of even at this point, but I would so far give it a Rafael. And with 1 minute left, Cody threw a bomb. I'm talking you, a bomb at Rafael. It didn't do anything. It just wobbled him a little bit. And then with 2 seconds left, Cody Garbrandt, oh my god, Cody Garbrandt threw one of the best punches I've ever seen and knocked Rafael unconscious, and the ref stopped the fight. It was literally pow, and the bell rang. It was probably more crazy than the O'Malley fight. I'm serious. The O'Malley fight was insane, but come on. Dude, 1 second left in the round, and he knocked him out. Oh my god. Alright, now for the main event of the evening. We got the Lioness, Amanda Nunes, versus Felicia Spencer. In the beginning of the fight, Amanda had some good strikes and leg kicks, but then she hit a big right hand and another leg kick. Felicia went for a takedown, but it ended up that Amanda took her down. Oh my gosh. Amanda started getting some good elbows on the ground and pound, and she cut Spencer on the top of her eyebrow. Amanda then had a good ground and pound punch right before the end of the round 1. In the second round, Amanda landed a beautiful right hand, and a little later, Spencer landed a good jab on Amanda, but it didn't seem to affect her. Amanda then got a takedown with 3 minutes left in the second round and started landing some really good elbows to the back of Spencer's head. When they got back to the feet, she kept landing some good punches and leg kicks until the end of round 2. In the third, Felicia started with a good knee, but soon after, Nunes started raining down with a bunch of good shots, and Spencer hadn't seemed to put anything together. Nunes then threw Spencer down like she was a stuffed animal, picked her up, pushed her to the ground. She's making this fight look way too easy. She then started to ramp it up, and throw heavier shots. Yeah, she threw heavier shots. She's already dominating the fight, and now she just decides to throw some heavier shots. She's insane. So, Spencer was in trouble at this point, but the round ended. So in round 4, it was basically the same as the other rounds, but just more power by Amanda. And Amanda just began smashing Spencer with really hard right hands. Amanda so far hasn't really been hit. She's been just hammering Spencer with leg kicks, body shots, and of course, her right hand. Over and over again. With 20 seconds left in the fight, Nunes rained down, and knocked her down, allowing her to go for a choke. But there wasn't enough time for it, and that was it for round 4. It was realized that she had a hematoma in the break before round 5, which just shows you how hard Amanda can hit and how much heart Spencer has. In round 5, Nunes just took her down, battered Spencer, and at this point, it just kind of seemed like the fight could be stopped at any point. But Amanda just kept battering Spencer on the ground until a doctor came in to check on Spencer to ask if she was okay. She said yes, so the fight went on, but the same thing happened. Amanda just kept destroying her all the way to the end of the fight, where she got a unanimous decision win. Amanda Nunes, my guy. Oh my gosh. This is the number 1 contender out there. And she's ragdolling her like she's a stuffed animal. If she's not the best women's fighter in UFC history, I don't know who is. She destroys everyone. No one's gonna beat her. Nobody. It's not gonna happen. Oh my gosh. Alright, if you liked the video, make sure to like, subscribe. You know the drill. And I'll see you in the next one. Jessica Eye versus Cynthia Calvillo is an interesting fight because Calvillo is coming up from strawweight to fight the number 1 contender in Jessica Eye. Calvillo was the number 10th ranked strawweight in the world as she moved up to what I think is her natural weight class in flyweight. When she first joined the UFC, she actually beat the 3rd ranked flyweight, Joanne Calderwood, but that was in strawweight, which was neither fighter's real weight class. Calvillo actually tied her last fight and won 2 before that. But I just have a good feeling that the number 1 contender in Jessica Eye is going to win the fight, just because of her experience against people like Valentina Shevchenko, Caitlin Chookagian, Sarah McMahon, and Miesha Tate. And she is the number 1 contender, while Calvillo isn't ranked because she hasn't even fought in flyweight before. Okay, if you agree, disagree, or just have something to say, make sure to put it in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to reply to it as soon as possible. Make sure to like and subscribe. It's been fun. Carl Robertson versus Marvin Vettori is a fight that was actually supposed to happen at UFC Fight Night Smith versus Teixeira. Carl Robertson had something come up where he couldn't really fight Marvin Vettori, and when they were in the hotel, Carl was trying to leave. Vettori just got pissed. He tried to fight in the hotel. These guys should make for a very, very exciting fight, but I don't know. I think Vettori's gonna win. Just because he's on a 2-fight win streak, with the only loss before that coming to middleweight champ Israel Adesanya, which means he has experience against the best middleweight in the world. And Carl Robertson, he just doesn't have much experience with any good middleweights, you know? And I don't know. Alright, if you agree, disagree, have something to say, make sure to write it in the comment section below. I'll make sure to read it and reply. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Merab Dvalishvili versus Ray Borg is another exciting bantamweight fight, with Ray Borg looking to bounce back from his loss to Ricky Simón. Ray Borg has had a lot of experience fighting people like Jussier Formiga, Casey Kenny, and Demetrius Johnson. He's been fighting in the UFC since he was 20 years old. Merab, on the other hand, is actually coming off a win streak, a 3-fight win streak, one of which was against 14-2 Casey Kenny. The loss before that was Ricky Simone, who both fighters have lost to. And I know Ray Borg has more experience than Merab, but I'm going to have to give my pick to Merab Dvalishvili, just because when he first started in the UFC, I just don't think he found his rhythm, which I think that contributed to why he lost his first few fights. But since then, he's made a huge recovery, and he's been undefeated since then. He's a much better fighter, and I think he's going to go out there and get a decision victory over Ray Borg. Alright, if you agree, disagree, or just have something to say, make sure to put it in the comment section below. I'll make sure to read it and reply to every single comment. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Charles Rosa versus Kevin Aguilar have somewhat similar records, with Charles being 12-4 and Kevin being 17-3. Both fighters are over the age of 31, which means age won't play the biggest role in this fight's outcome. Charles is coming off a very disappointing loss to undefeated Bryce Mitchell. He has been inside the octagon since 2013, and he's 3-4 in the UFC, which isn't that impressive. He's fought guys like Dennis Silver, Yair Rodriguez, Shane Burgos, and of course, Bryce Mitchell. On the other hand, we got 17-3 Kevin Aguilar, who has only 3 fights in the UFC, and who is currently on a 2-fight losing streak. He's fought 2 ranked opponents in Dan Ige and Zubara Tukugov, but he lost to both. So, when you look at the data, Kevin's record before the UFC was 16-1, which is pretty good, but, that was against nobodies. And when he got inside the UFC, he fought a couple good fighters, but he lost. Charles has been inside the UFC this whole time, fighting the best fighters in the world, getting really good experience against UFC's top talent. Because of that, I'm going to have to give this win to Charles Rosa. Okay? If you agree, disagree, or just have something to say, make sure to just put that down in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to get back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like and subscribe if you don't want to miss any UFC fight predictions or outcomes in the future. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Anthony Ivy versus Christian Aguilera is the first fight of the night. Anthony Ivy is 30 years old, 6'2", and is dropping down to welterweight. He also has a reach of 74 inches. On the other hand, Christian Aguilera is 28 years old, way smaller at 5'8", and has a reach of 72 inches. Alright, now let's look at their resumes. Anthony is 8-2 outside of the UFC, as this is his debut, and this is also Christian's debut, so since this is both fighters' debut, we don't really have much evidence of them fighting, good fighters. So I'm just going to look at their out-of-UFC records. Anthony Ivy's record is obviously much, much better than Christian's. So I kind of have to give him the win. Alright, if you agree, disagree, or have something to say, make sure to put it in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to get back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like and subscribe. It's been fun, but I'm out. Tyson Nam versus Zaruk Adashev is a UFC bantamweight fight. We have Tyson Nam with 16 wins, 11 losses, and 1 draw. He's 36 years old with a 2-inch height advantage at 5'6". Tyson also has a pretty decent reach advantage, as his reach is 3 inches longer at 68 inches. Tyson Nam only has 2 fights inside the octagon, and he's lost both of them. And the 27-year-old Zaruk is just having his UFC debut. So he's 3-1 outside the UFC, which isn't that impressive. But Tyson is 16-11-1, and, that's not that good either. It just shows that, Tyson has some good experience fighting, as he has over 25 fights, while this is only the 5th fight for Zaruk. So, I'm going to have to give this win to Tyson Nam. Alright. If you agree, disagree, just have something to say, make sure to put it in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to get back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like and subscribe. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Julia Avila versus Gina Monzani is the last fight on these prelims. Julia has 7 wins and 1 loss, and she's 1-0 inside the UFC. She's 32 years old and is 1 inch taller than her opponent at 5'6". Her opponent, on the other hand, has 6 wins but 3 losses, and one of those losses coming from her last fight inside the octagon. Both fighters only have one fight inside the UFC, but they both have the same amount of experience, so I'm just going to have to look at their records to decide the winner of this fight, and it kind of seems pretty obvious. I'm going to give the win to Julia Avila. Alright, if you agree, disagree, or just have something to say, make sure to put that in the comment section below, and I will make sure to get back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like and subscribe. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Maria Agapova versus Hannah Cifers is a women's flyweight fight. Maria Agapova is currently 8-1, with this being her first actual UFC fight. She is only 23 years old and is hungry to start a climb to the top of the rankings. Hannah Cifers, on the other hand, has 4 fights inside the UFC and is currently on a 2-fight losing streak against Angela Hill and Mackenzie Dern. The 2 people that she's beaten weren't very good, and neither really were the people that beat her. She's had some experience in the UFC, but not enough. And I think that 23-year-old is going to be like a top 5 fighter and is going to get the win against Hannah Cifers. Probably by decision. Although I'm hoping it's by knockout because, who doesn't want to see a knockout? Am I right? Alright. If you agree, disagree, or just have something to say, make sure to put that in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to get back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like and subscribe. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Espinoza versus Mark De La Rosa is a pretty even matchup in my opinion. We have 14-7 Jordan Espinoza up against 11-4 Mark De La Rosa. Jordan only has 3 fights in the UFC, losing his last 2 fights to number 5 ranked flyweight Alex Perez and Matthew Christopher Schneider, both by submission in the first round. On the other hand, we have Mark De La Rosa, who is also moving up to bantamweight, but he might come down as he's switched divisions several times in his career. Right now, he's actually on a 3-fight losing streak to Kai Kara France, Alex Perez, and Raulane Paiva. His only 2 wins in the UFC were against nobodies, Elias Garcia and Joey Sanchez. And his fight before that, he lost to Tim Elliott. As you can see, both fighters are at the bottom of the roller coaster, hoping that this win in this fight will propel them closer to the top. And I don't know who I'm going to give it to. I'm going to give it a Mark, just because he's 5 years younger at 25 years old, and he somehow has more experience in the UFC against someone that's 5 years older than him. Alright, if you agree, disagree, or just have something to say, make sure to just put that in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to get back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like and subscribe. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. The first fight of the night was Anthony Ivy versus Christian Aguilera, and it started out with a nice leg kick by Ivy, and he got another not long after that, but Christian had a really nice right hand that stunned Ivy, and he just kept raining down until the fight was stopped. This fight only lasted 59 seconds, which is incredibly fast for these two fighters that are in their UFC debut. The second fight of the night was Tyson Nam versus Zaruk Adashev, and this fight only took seconds as Tyson Nam absolutely destroyed Adashev with one of the craziest right hands I've ever seen, followed up by one of the biggest shots of ground and pound. Oh my. This is already 2 fights in a row with a first round finish. Not to mention these ones are inside of 1 minute. This honestly should have been a pay-per-view. This fight so far was nuts. The third fight of the night, it was basically the same as the others. Julia Avila knocked out Gina Manzani again in less than 1 minute in the first round. She knocked her out in 22 seconds. These fights are too fast. Bro! Okay, now that I've gotten over the other 3 fights, the fourth fight of the night was Merab Divashvili versus Gustavo Lopez. And at the beginning of the fight, Gustavo landed a nice leg kick, and then Merab landed a good right hand and took Gustavo to the fence, but got off soon after. Gustavo then landed some good hits on Merab, and this fight was so far the longest fight of the night. Then Merab took Gustavo down and had his back. And then Merab got on top of Gustavo and landed some really good ground and pound. But Gustavo got back up. Literally 2 seconds after Merab took Gustavo down again and was on top of Gustavo, and ended the round with some good body shots, followed up by a couple more good punches until the round ended. In round 2, Merab hurt Gustavo with a good right hand, and soon later, he took Gustavo down again, and he got top control. Merab basically just kept Gustavo down and kept on pounding on Gustavo. Merab then attempted to knock a neck crank from the side, and he turned it into a little armbar, but Gustavo luckily got out. But not for long, as he was took down 4, not 3, not 2, 4 more times, with Gustavo just getting up, being took down, getting up, being took down over and over and over again until the end of the round. In the third and final round, Merab landed some good shots until again, he landed another takedown, making this his 10th takedown of the fight. Gustavo got up again after taking some good ground and pound, and he was taken down yet again. Gustavo got up again, but was taken down again. This was already 12 takedowns. 12. On the ground, Merab just kept landing good ground and pound until about 40 seconds when Gustavo got up and was taken down again for the 13th takedown of the fight. Like, what? He just kept it down there for the rest of the fight. And this fight was amazing, as Merab got the bantamweight record for the most takedowns in a fight, with 13 takedowns. What? Anyway, he won the fight by unanimous decision, quite obviously, because, 13 takedowns, the bantamweight record. Come on. The fifth fight of the night was Maria Agapova versus Hannah Cifers, and at the start of the fight, Agapova landed a bunch of good shots as she was pushing an unbearable pace on the Cifers. Agapova was just going super hard, and it was starting to affect Cifers. Soon after, Agapova landed a huge kick that hurt Cifers, and it allowed her to take Cifers back, and she got her arm under Cifers' throat and submitted Cifers for another fight, ending inside of the first round. 4 of the 5 fights that have happened right now are inside of the first round. When has this ever happened? The sixth fight of the night was Jordan Espinoza versus Mark De La Rosa, and at the beginning of the fight, Mark started eating jabs and leg kicks. This basically happened for about half of the round. until Mark got Espinoza onto the cage, and it started to look like he was going to take him down. But the whole time Mark tried to take him down, he was being hit in the body from Espinoza. And Espinoza was landing some good elbows that were counting as points all the way up to the end of the round. At this point, it was pretty obvious Espinoza was winning the fight, probably something like 10-9. And in the second round, the striking was pretty much the same, as Espinoza landed some good shots, and Mark couldn't really respond. With 1 minute done with a round, Espinoza landed a really good liver shot on Mark. Mark then got the same position on the fence as he did in the last round, where he got one leg of Espinoza, and he went for a takedown, but he couldn't get it. On the feet, they were kind of even, but Espinoza kind of had the edge. But that didn't last long, as Espinoza basically took control of the fight, yet again, getting some more good jabs, right hands, up until the end of the round. In the third round, Espinoza actually had Mark on the fence for about 5 seconds until they started throwing on the feet. Until, again, Espinoza landing his own takedown that Mark had been trying to do this whole time. On the ground, Espinoza was landing some good ground and pound until he decided he didn't want to get submitted. So he went back on the feet. And on the feet, nothing really happened, because Espinoza actually took Mark down for the third time. He landed even more ground and pound on Mark until, again, he didn't want to get submitted, so he decided to get back up on the feet. And on the feet, it was like the other rounds, with Espinoza landing a bunch more good shots and Mark not doing much. This fight went to decision, where Espinoza won by unanimous decision, which was pretty obvious because Mark kind of didn't do anything. He was trying to get takedowns on Espinoza, which was his specialty, but Espinoza took him down 3 times and still managed to outstrike him. This was just, this fight was kind of uneven. Espinoza kind of was a way too high level for Mark. The 7th fight of the night was Andre Fili versus Charles Jourdain. At the beginning of the fight, they both started landing some good shots on each other, as Charles was landing some good body shots on Fili. Soon after, Fili landed a good head kick, but Jourdain countered with a good one of his own. Both fighters were pretty even at this point, with both landing the same types of strikes. At this point, it seemed as if Fili's arm was hurt a little bit, and about 10 seconds later, Jourdain landed a really good shot that knocked down Fili. Not knocked out, knocked down. But he got up pretty fast. With 10 seconds left in the round, Andre took Jourdain down, but he got up right before the round ended. In the second round, Jourdain was getting some good leg kicks, as Fili was also getting some good strikes of his own. With half the round over, it looked as if the fight was a draw, as they both had the same amount of strikes. The only thing really different was Jourdain's knockdown and Fili's takedown. Both the fighters just kept landing combo after combo after combo until Fili took Jourdain down again. But nothing really happened, as Jourdain got right back up, and they struck a little bit until the end of the round. In the last and final round, Jourdain kept on with his leg kicks, and Fili kept trying his head kicks. This fight was basically all tied up at this point, so whoever wins this round kind of wins the whole thing. Fili then went for a takedown and completed it, and when Jourdain got back up, he brought Jourdain right back down. When they got up again, they kept going back and forth. With 30 seconds, Fili took Jourdain down again, and they stayed there for the rest of the round. This fight went to the scorecards, where Andre won by split decision. The 8th fight of the night was Charles Rosa versus Kevin Aguilar. In the start of the fight, Rosa kept landing leg kicks and some good punches, but Aguilar was also landing some good shots on Rosa. With about 1:30 left in the round, Aguilar landed a good right hand, and they started trading shots for a bit. They were looking pretty even. Rosa then went for a takedown, but failed, and that was about it for the round. Not much really happened in that round, and, I'm not really sure who won that round. But in round 2, Rosa had a really good body kick and some more good leg kicks. Aguilar then landed some good shots that right in the face of Rosa, and with 1:30 left in this round, it seemed that the fight was more in Aguilar's favor. With 20 seconds, Rosa landed a good head kick, followed up with a nice left hand that stunned Aguilar before the round ended, where it was noticed that Rosa had developed a nice cut on his forehead due to a headbutt by Aguilar. In the third round, they started trading shots for about 2 minutes, where Rosa landed a good combo that bloodied up Aguilar's face a little bit. This fight slowly started to go towards Rosa's favor, as he was landing a lot more shots than Aguilar, and Aguilar, he just kept missing by just a little bit. Aguilar then started throwing big shots near the end of the round, as he wasn't sure if he'd done enough to win the fight. When the fight went to decision, the scorecards read 29-28 Aguilar, 29-28 Rosa, and 29-28 for your winner by split decision, Charles Rosa. I was honestly not sure who won this fight, but if you think about it, Rosa definitely had more strikes and had a lot more leg kicks to earn the split decision win. The second and last fight of the night was Carl Robertson versus Marvin Vettori. In the beginning of the fight, Marvin landed a couple nice shots on Robertson, and he went for a takedown, but he got it reversed. And when Vettori got out and up, he immediately took Robertson down again, and he went for a submission, but he failed. And that led to Robertson getting on top, but just 5 seconds later, Vettori reversed the position and got on top of Robertson and just started raining down ground and pound until they got Robertson's back, and he ended up choking him out. He choked out Carl Robertson with yet another first round finish. This card is sick. The main event of the night was number 1 ranked flyweight Jessica Eye versus number 10 ranked strawweight Cynthia Calvillo. In the start of round 1, Calvillo and Eye were both trading shots, with Calvillo landing a good head kick on Eye. On the strikes, Eye is probably winning the fight with about 1:30 left in the round. They basically just kept trading some good strikes here and there up until the round was over. In round 2, Calvillo got a hold of Eye's leg and took her down. On the ground, Calvillo got some good ground and pound until Eye stood up, but Calvillo got Eye's back and was looking for some more ground and pound. In round 3, they traded a little bit as Eye was mainly winning the exchanges. Soon later, though, Calvillo got Jessica to the ground again and got Eye's back, and was looking for a rear naked choke. But there was just too little time left in the round, so she threw a couple more shots right before the round ended. In round 4, Calvillo took Eye down with 4:30 left in the round. She took her down in only 30 seconds and got Eye's back. She started putting some more ground and pound on Jessica, and she basically just kept on doing this until Jessica found a way up somehow, and they began striking again with 2 minutes left in round 4. In round 5, I would say Jessica probably would be losing, and it kind of seems like she needs a finish at this point. They kept up their back and forth striking, but it just seemed as if Calvillo was winning the exchanges. And if she didn't get finished, she probably would win the fight. With 1 minute left, Calvillo found another takedown, kind of trying to chip away at the clock until the end of the fight. This fight went to decision, where Cynthia Calvillo won the fight by unanimous decision. Oh my god. Alright. Thanks for watching this video. Make sure to like and subscribe. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Josh Emmett versus Shane Burgos is our co-main event for UFC Fight Night Blades versus Volkov. Shane Burgos has achieved an impressive record of 13 wins and only 1 loss. He is 29 years old and he stands 5 foot 9 inches tall. He has a reach of 75.5 inches. Josh Emmett has achieved a nice record of 15 wins and 2 losses, but he's much older at 35 years old, and he stands 5 foot 5 inches tall, which is 4 inches smaller than Burgos. He also has a reach of about 70 inches. Alright, now let's just take a look at the guy they faced to achieve those records. Burgos' most notable win would probably be against Cub Swanson, as none of the other fighters he's beaten have been ranked. He also got that 1 loss on his resume fighting the number 6th ranked featherweight in the world, Calvin Kattar. Emmett also has 1 notable win on his resume from beating Michael Johnson, but he's also lost to 2 people in Desmond Green and Jeremy Stevens, with Jeremy being the most skilled fighter he probably has faced, as he got knocked out in round 2. Just because of the fact that Emmett is older and he's lost to worse guys than Burgos has, I'm gonna have to give the win to Burgos. Alright, if you agree, maybe disagree, or maybe you just have something to say, make sure to put that in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to get back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like and subscribe if you don't want to miss any more amazing MMA content. It's been fun, but I'm out. Curtis Blades versus Alexander Volkov is the main event of the night. Volkov has achieved a record of 31 wins, 7 losses. He is 31 years old, 6'6", and has a reach of 80 inches. Blades has achieved a record of 13 wins, 2 losses. He's 29 years old and is 6'3" and has a reach of 80 inches. Now, if you look at the guys both fighters have faced, Blades' only kryptonite is Ngannou, and he's lost to him twice. Those are his only 2 losses. Now, he's also beaten guys like Aleksei Oleinik, Mark Hunt, Alistair Overeem, and Junior Dos Santos. The guys he's beaten are pretty amazing, but now we gotta look at Volkov. Volkov has beaten guys like Roy Nelson, Stefan Struve, Fabricio Verdum, and Greg Hardy. He only has 1 loss in the UFC, and that was to Derek Lewis. Now, when you look at all the info about them, it's kind of a hard decision, especially because this is a heavyweight bout, and as we all know, anything can happen. Now, if I had to choose a winner, it would probably be Curtis Blades. Yeah, I think it'd be Curtis Blades. Alright, if you agree, disagree, or just have something to say, make sure to put it in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to get back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like and subscribe if you don't want to miss any more amazing MMA content. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Pennington versus Marion Reneau is a women's bantamweight fight. Marion Reneau has achieved a record of 9 wins, 5 losses, and 1 draw. She's actually 42 years old, and she stands 5 foot 5 inches tall, with a reach of 68 inches. Pennington has achieved a record of 10 wins and 8 losses, and she is just 31 years old. She stands 5 foot 6 inches tall, with a reach of 67.5 inches. Alright, now let's take a deeper look at those records. Reneau has faced people like Holly Holm, Jessica Andrade, and Kat Zingano. She actually lost to both Holm and Zingano, but she ended up submitting Andrade in the first round. She submitted a former champion, which should tell you something. She's pretty good. And then we got Pennington. She's fought people like Roxanne Modafferi, Jessica Andrade, twice, Holly Holm, Misha Tate, Jermaine Durandamy, Amanda Nunes, and then Holly Holm a second time. Her record is 10-8, but considering she was facing some of the best female fighters out there, of course her record's not going to look too good. I think that just because Pennington is 11 years younger and still actually has more experience against the top fighters in their division, I'm going to have to give the win to Pennington. Alright, if you agree, maybe disagree, or just have something to say, make sure to just put that in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to get back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like and subscribe if you don't want to miss any more amazing MMA content. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Jim Miller versus Roosevelt Roberts is surprisingly a catchweight fight. Jim Miller is hoping to add to his collection of most wins in lightweight history with 19 wins. And Roosevelt Roberts is just hoping to make this his third win in a row. Jim is 36 years old, 5'7", and has a reach of 71 inches. Roosevelt is 10 years younger at 26. He is way taller at 6'2", which is actually 7 inches taller than Jim. And he has a reach of 73 inches. Jim has all the experience in the world with his 35 fights inside the octagon, as he's faced guys like Gray Maynard, Charles Oliveira, Benson Henderson, Joe Lozon twice, Nate Diaz, Donald Cerrone, Michael Chiesa, Diego Sanchez, Takanori Gomi, Anthony Pettis, Dustin Poirier. You get the point, but I'm gonna keep going. Dan Hooker and Clay Guida. That is one of the biggest lists of fighters I have named off of this channel. Sheesh, bro. Okay. On the other hand, we have Roosevelt, who only has 5 fights inside the octagon, but he is 4-1. But the guys he's beaten, they weren't the best. And even the guy that beat him, he wasn't that good himself. But, I'm still a firm believer that once you're as old as Jimbo, you'll fade a little bit. And I think that this fight is going to be the start for Jim. Even though Roosevelt hasn't really beaten anyone notable, I think this could be his first notable win. Okay. If you agree, disagree, or maybe have something to say, make sure to put it in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to get back to every one of those comments. Make sure to like and subscribe with notifications turned on if you don't want to miss any amazing MMA content. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Belal Muhammad versus Lyman Good, in my opinion, is going to be an outstanding fight. Belal's record is 16-3. He's 31 years old, 5'9", and has a reach of 72 inches. Lyman, on the other hand, is 21-5. He is 35 years old, 6 foot exactly, and has a reach of 74 inches. Belal's record is better than Lyman's, but is it? He is 7-3 inside the UFC, beating Tim Means and Randy Brown. But he's also lost 3 times in the UFC to Vicente Luque by knockout, Alan Juban, and Geoff Neal. Lyman, on the other hand, is just 2-2 in the UFC with only 4 fights. And to tell you the truth, he doesn't have much notable wins. He's lost to both Damian Maia and, honestly, I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name. But, Lyman hasn't been in the UFC as long as Belal. He's older, and his record inside the UFC against, the best competition there is worse than Belal's. So, I'm just going to have to pick Belal Muhammad to win this fight. Alright, if you agree, maybe disagree, or just have something to say, make sure to put that in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to get back to every one of those comments. Make sure to like and subscribe with notifications, please, if you don't want to miss any of this amazing, and I said it, amazing MMA content. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Guida versus Bobby Green is probably going to be an amazing fight due to Guida's enormous heart and determination to never give up. Guida is 38 years old, 5'6", and has a reach of 70 inches. Green is 33 years old, 5'8", and has a reach of 71 inches. Guida has been inside the UFC for about 15 years, and he has 28 total fights in the UFC, which is quite a bit. He has so many fights inside the UFC with so much experience, and he's faced guys like Nate Diaz, Diego Sanchez, Kenny Florian, Rafael Dos Anjos, Takanori Gomi, Anthony Pettis, Benson Henderson, Gray Maynard, Chad Mendez, Brian Ortega, Joe Lozon, Charles Oliveira, Jim Miller, and BJ Penn. Yeah, as you can see, he's fought some big names, like a lot of big names. Alright, let's look at Green. Green has faced guys like Edson Barbosa and Dustin Poirier, but he lost to both of them. And his record inside the UFC is a measly 5-5, which is not good. They're both pretty old, but Green he hasn't beaten really anyone yet. He's 5-5 in the UFC, so I'm going to give the win to Guida. Okay, if you agree, disagree, or have something to say, make sure to put it in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to get back to every one of those comments. Make sure to like and subscribe with notifications turned on if you don't want to miss any more of this amazing MMA content. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Tecia Torres versus Brianna Van Buren is a women's strawweight bout. Tecia is 10-5, 30 years old, 5'1", and has a reach of 60.5 inches. Brianna is 9-2 and 26 years old. She's exactly 5 foot tall and has a reach of 62 inches. Tecia has actually been in the UFC since 2004, and she's fought a couple good names like Angela Hill, Rose Namajunas, Michelle Watterson, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, Jessica Andrade, and Weili Zhang. And these fighters are obviously very skilled competition, but she is riding a 4-fight losing streak at the moment. Brianna, on the other hand, has only faced one person inside the UFC, and she won. But is that enough to beat the still young Tecia Torres? I don't really think so. I have a feeling that Tecia is going to win this fight by decision. Okay, if you agree, maybe disagree, or just have something to say, just make sure to put that in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to get back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like and subscribe with notifications turned on if you don't want to miss any of this amazing MMA content. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Marc-Andre Barriault versus Oscar Piechota is a middleweight bout. Mark is 11-4, he's 30 years old, 6'1", and he has a reach of 74 inches. Oscar has a very similar record with 11 wins, 3 losses, and just 1 draw. He is also 30 years old, he's 6 foot tall, and he has a reach of 76 inches. Alright, so because these guys, they have such similar records, we're going to need to look at who they fought and who they beat. So Mark has only fought 3 times inside of the UFC, and he's lost every single one of those fights. Oscar, on the other hand, has 5 fights in the UFC, winning only 2 of them. But because he actually has beaten other fighters inside of the UFC, and he has more experience, I'm going to have to give the win to Oscar Piechota. Alright, if you agree or disagree, or just have something to say, make sure to put it in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to get back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like and subscribe with notifications turned on if you don't want to miss any of this amazing MMA content. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Courtney Casey versus Gillian Robertson is a women's flyweight bout. Casey has 9 wins and 7 losses. She's 33 years old, 5'6", and she has a reach of 67 inches. Robertson has 7 wins, 4 losses. She is only 25 years old, 5'4", and has a pretty small reach of 63 inches. Okay, so Casey's been in the UFC for a while now, with 11 out of her 16 total fights that have been inside the octagon. She's faced people like Joanne Calderwood, Claudia Gadelha, Michelle Watterson, Angela Hill, and Cynthia Calvillo. Now, of those 5 fighters I just mentioned, she's only beaten 1 in Angela Hill, and even her, she's not that good. Robertson, on the other hand, she only has 6 fights in the UFC, but she's 4-2, which is not that bad. Now, I'm not entirely sure who's going to win this fight, but if I had to bet like all my money, it'd probably have to be Gillian. Okay, if you agree, disagree, or just have something to say, make sure to put it in the comment section below. I'll make sure to get back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like and subscribe with notifications turned on if you don't want to miss any more amazing MMA content. It's been fun, but I'm Frank Camacho versus Justin James is a lightweight bout. Frank has a record of 22 wins and 8 losses. He's 31 years old, 5'8", and has a reach of 73 inches. Justin, on the other hand, has a record of 15 wins and only 4 losses. He's 30 years old, 5'6", and has a pretty short reach of just 67.5 inches. Frank hasn't been the best in the UFC, but he's fought some good competition, leading to his 2-4 record inside the octagon. Justin, on the other hand, he has never fought inside the octagon, so we're going to see how good he can do against Frank this weekend. If I had to pick a winner of this fight, it'd probably be Frank, just because he has so much more experience inside the octagon, especially against some good fighters, which he lost to, but he also learned from those experiences, making him a little, in my opinion, a little bit better. Okay, if you agree or disagree or just have something to say, make sure to put it in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to get back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like and subscribe with notifications turned on if you don't want to miss any more amazing MMA content. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Roxanne Modafferi versus Lauren Murphy is a women's flyweight fight. Roxanne is 24-16. She's 37 years old, 5'6", and has a reach of 69 inches. Lauren is 12-4. She's 36 years old, 5'4", and has a reach of 67 inches. Roxanne has 7 fights in the UFC, while Lauren has 8 fights. Lauren is mainly known to be a boxer, but she has a lot of training in BJJ as well. Currently, she's riding a 2-fight win streak, one of those wins coming by knockout. In her last fight against Andrea Lee, she was pretty even with Lee on the stand-up, but her takedowns were so good, she just kept on taking Andrea down. In that fight, she had 4 takedowns, and the striking was basically the same. I think in her fight with Roxanne, she'll probably try and take her down, as it worked very well in her last fight. In Roxanne's last fight, lots of people said it wasn't a real win, as Macy tore her ACL in round 1. Because this fight doesn't really show how good Roxanne is, we're going to have to look at the fight before. In this fight, she actually lost to Jennifer Maia by decision. In this fight, it was like Maia got some fire lit inside of her, as she absolutely destroyed Roxanne with almost 3 times as many significant strikes. I looked through Roxanne's UFC career just to see how much ground experience she has, and it turns out she has quite a bit, as in her fight with Antonina Shevchenko, she took her down a total of 10 times. Wow. It seems like both fighters are pretty good on the ground, so I take back what I said a little bit earlier about Lauren taking her down. because they both have a lot of takedowns in the UFC. So just because they're equal on the ground, I think Lauren might wanna keep the fight stood up so she can use her boxing on Roxanne. I think if they keep the fight up, that Lauren will get the win. And I'm pretty sure that'll happen, so I'm gonna pick Lauren. Okay, if you agree, disagree, or have something to say, make sure to put it in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to get back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like and subscribe with notifications turned on if you don't want to miss any more amazing MMA content. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Austin Hubbard versus Max Roskopf is our first fight of the night. Austin has a record of 11 wins, 4 losses. He's 28 years old, 5'8", and has a reach of 71 inches. Max is an undefeated fighter with 5 wins and no losses. He's only 25 years old, and he's much taller than Hubbard at 6'1". He also has the same reach as Hubbard at 71 inches. Austin Hubbard is 1-2 inside the UFC, which his only win was against a guy with 12 wins, 7 losses, which isn't that very good. Austin has most of his fights go to decision, as he doesn't have that knockout power to take someone out. And he only has 1 submission, but it was against someone in a very, very small organization. Okay, so Max, on the other hand, he has some pretty good power, but with that power, he can use it to get some takedowns on Hubbard, as he's really good at wrestling and jiu-jitsu. If I had to choose the winner, it would probably have to be the taller, more diverse fighter in Max Roskopf, just because he's more diverse and he could use his good striking to take him down, because he has a really good background with wrestling and jiu-jitsu, so he could basically just batter Austin the whole time. Okay, if you agree, maybe disagree, or have something to say, make sure to put it in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to get back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like and subscribe if you don't want to miss any of this amazing MMA content. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Sean Woodson versus Kyle Nelson is a catchweight bout. Both fighters have a pretty good record, with Sean being 7-0 and Kyle being 13-3. Sean only has 1 fight inside the UFC against Kyle Bochniak. In this fight, Sean absolutely dominated with excellent striking, as he had almost 3 times as much strikes landed. In the fight, Bochniak actually attempted 15 takedowns. But guess what? He could only get 1, which shows how good Sean is at not getting taken down. Because Sean's striking is so good, as shown in the fight, and the fact that he can barely be taken down, I can fully expect that Sean, he probably wants to keep this fight up. Alright, now we have to take a little look at Kyle Nelson. He has 2 fights in the UFC, and he lost his first fight. In that fight, Kyle was getting absolutely wrecked on the feet, which made Kyle want to go for takedowns. He actually achieved 4 takedowns in the fight, but once he was on the ground, he couldn't do anything with it, as Matt submitted him after one of his takedowns. In Kyle's second fight, it was a little different, as the fight only took 1 minute. Well, 1 minute and a half, as Kyle knocked his opponent out. It was a pretty good knockout, I gotta say, but it didn't really show anything, as it was such a short fight. And, if it did show something, it shows that he has some good power, but I still think Sean's gonna get the win, as he's the better striker, and I'm sure this fight will be a stand-up battle, as Sean's takedown defense is so amazing, and if it's up, Sean should easily get the win. Okay, if you agree, maybe disagree, or have something to say, make sure to just put that in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to get back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like and subscribe, and please put on that notification so you don't miss any more amazing MMA content. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Kay Hansen versus Jin Hu Frey is a women's strawweight bout. Kay is 6-3 and only is 20 years old. Jin is 35 years old, which is pretty old, and has a small record of 9-4. In this fight, we have an old former Invicta champion, Jinyu Frey, versus former Invicta contender, Kay Hansen. In this fight, I'm predicting that both fighters are just going to be pretty equal, with Jin's experience as Invicta champ and Kay's youth. Dang. Just because Kay hasn't really fought that good of competition, I'm going to have to go with Jinyu Frey. Just because she was a champ in Invicta, and she was facing the best in her promotion, whereas Kay hasn't really fought anyone. Alright, if you agree, disagree, or have something to say, make sure to put it in the comment section below.
What?
Say subscribe.
Subscribe.
Alright, you heard the boy. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Felipe Lins versus Tanner Boser is a heavyweight bout. Lins has 14 wins and 4 losses. He's 34 years old, 6'4", and he has a reach of 78 inches. Boser has 17 wins, 6 losses, and 1 draw. He is 28 years old, 6'2", and he has a reach of 75 and 1/2 inches. Alright, now let's look at the records. Lins only has 1 fight inside the UFC, where he lost to former champion Andrei Arlovski. The fight was really close, with Arlovski having 50 significant strikes and Lins with 41. So, it was a pretty close fight. Boser, on the other hand, has had 2 fights in the UFC, with his first fight being against Daniel Splits. In this fight, Boser absolutely dominated Splits with 3 times more strikes landed, as he won the fight by unanimous decision. In his second fight against Cyril Gane, he had 2 times less strikes than Gane. Both of these fighters' fights ended up with a decision, so I don't know. Now that we know both fighters have fought very good fighters, with Lins fighting Andrei Arlovski and Boser fighting undefeated heavyweight Cyril Gane. Honestly, in my opinion, I think this one's 50-50, as both fighters kind of have similar skills. They don't really have much of a ground game. They're both strikers, and I mean, their striking is pretty similar. But if I had a bet, it would probably be for the younger, more experienced fighter in Tanner Boser. Alright, if you agree, disagree, or have something to say, make sure to put it in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to get back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to please like, and subscribe. I need some subscribers. Put that notifications on, because I don't want you guys to miss any more amazing MMA content. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Luis Pena versus Kama Worthy is a lightweight bout. Pena has 8 wins, 2 losses, he's 26 years old, and he has a reach of 75 inches. Worthy has 15 wins, 6 losses, he's 33 years old, 5'9", and has a reach of 74 inches. Alright, now let's take a look at the records. Pena has 6 fights in the UFC, and he's won 4 of them. In his second to last fight with Matt Frevola, he was doing much better on the feet, as he's the better striker. But just because he is so tall and skinny, it's really easy to be taken down, as Frevola took him down a total of 4 times, giving him the win. In his last fight with Steve Garcia, I kind of think he lost the fight, with Garcia having twice the number of strikes and landing 1 takedown. Kama, on the other hand, he only has 1 fight in the UFC, and it was against one of his closest friends, Devontae Smith. In this fight, Devontae was the heavy favorite. It was like, I don't know, minus 1,000 or something to win the fight. But late in round 1, he hit an absolutely nice shot that dropped Smith, giving him his first win inside the UFC. He was scheduled to fight Michael Johnson at UFC 249, but, COVID. So, I mean, this fight's pretty tough to predict. I mean, wait, I'm gonna take a look at Worthy's earlier fights, because this one fight lasted so quick. So we're gonna have to take a look at some of his earlier fights. Of his wins outside the UFC, 8 were by KO, 2 by submission, and the rest by decision. In his losses, 5 out of the 6 were by KO because he was being a little impatient and going for some bad shots that ended up getting him clipped. Now, I'm pretty sure this fight's going to be on the feet, but I'm still not really sure who's the better fighter or who's the better striker. I mean, in Pena's fights, 4 of his wins came from submission, meaning that he might not have the confidence in his striking, as he does only have 2 KO victories in his whole fighting career. Alright, I'm going to have to give the win to Kama Worthy. I'm going to give the win to Kama Worthy. I think that because, in my opinion, Pena's striking is a little bit worse than Worthy's, and I think the fight will probably stay up, and I think Kama will have a good time and probably win the fight by KO. Maybe round 2 or 3. I would say 2. Alright, if you agree, disagree, or have something to say, make sure to put it in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to get back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like and subscribe with notifications turned on, because I'm going to be posting so much every single week, and I don't want you guys to miss any of it. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Takashi Sato versus Jason Witt is a welterweight bout. Without even looking at their physical characteristics, I have absolutely no doubt that Takashi will win this fight. Because, well, first off, Jason Witt is fighting this fight on 3 days' notice. He only has 3 days. And second of all, his chin isn't that hard, as most of his losses came by KO. Also, just because he isn't that good on the feet, and Takashi is an absolute KO specialist with 10 of his wins coming via KO, it just seems like a really easy prediction that Takashi Sato probably going to get the win. And if I had to pick a round, I'd probably say second round by KO. Alright, if you agree, disagree, or just have something to say, make sure to put in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to get back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like and subscribe, and put on notifications, because I'm going to be posting so many videos every single week, so make sure to put that notification on if you don't want to miss any of this amazing MMA content. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Jordan Griffin versus Youssef Zavala is a featherweight bout. We have Jordan Griffin, who has 18 wins, 7 losses. He's 30 years old, 5'8", and he has a reach of 73 inches. Youssef Zalal has a record of 8 wins, 2 losses. He's only 23 years old, he stands 5'8" tall, and he has a reach of 72 inches. Okay, so Jordan only has 2 fights in the UFC, and he's 1-1. In his first fight with Chas Skelly, it went to decision. The stats showed that they each had 1 takedown, and Skelly had a little bit more strikes landed, but when you look at their significant strikes, Skelly only had 21, and Griffin had 37. I really thought Griffin won this fight just because his strikes that were landed were way more powerful than Skelly's, but the judges thought differently. So, in his second fight against TJ Brown, he was getting absolutely destroyed, with Brown having 4 times as many strikes, 2 times as many significant strikes, and 7 takedowns against him. The only reason he won the fight was because he sunk in a submission from the bottom, which luckily caught him a win. I mean, a win is a win, but in this fight, he was getting completely outclassed, and he got a Hail Mary submission before the fight would inevitably go to TJ. Alright, now we gotta look a little bit at Youssef Zavala, and he only has 1 fight in the UFC, which he actually won, and in that fight, it was against Austin Lingo, and guess what? He handed Austin Lingo his first loss. In the fight, Youssef had almost 3 times as many strikes and took Austin down 6 times. This showed that he's really good at takedowns, and he's really good on the feet, which Jordan Griffin is horrible at takedown defense. And as seen in Jordan's last fight, I mean, he got completely outclassed on the feet. So I have a feeling the same thing's going to happen in this fight with Yusuf coming out with the victory. Okay, if you agree, maybe disagree, or you have something to say, make sure to put in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to get back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to put on those notifications, because I'm going to be putting out lots and lots of videos every single week. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Gian Villante versus Maurice Green is a heavyweight bout. Villante has an okay record of 17 wins, 11 losses. He's 34 years old, 6'2", and he's a reach of 76 inches. Maurice, on the other hand, has a record of 8 wins, 5 losses. He's 33 years old, 6'6", which is tall, and he has a really long reach of 80.5 inches. Okay, so Villante has been in the UFC since 2013 with, I think, 15 fights inside the octagon. In my opinion, I think he's actually on a 6-fight losing streak with his 2 wins. If you look at the stats of his 2 wins in the past 6 fights that he had, he had less strikes than the other opponent with 0 takedowns, so I kind of think he lost those fights. So Green, on the other hand, he has 4 fights in the UFC, and his last 2 fights, which he lost, were against beasts in Alexei Oleinik, personally one of my favorite heavyweights, and 14-1 Sergey Pavlich. Bro, His 2 fights before that were very good, as he had much more strikes than his opponent, and he wasn't missing that much. I think that because both fighters most likely don't want to go to the ground, they're both more like standing up and just throw. I think Green will do a little bit better with his long reach and power, because in the Alexei Oleinik fight, his long reach, power, and then his height were kind of a disadvantage because Alexei just wanted to take him down, but I don't see John Vellante doing that. So I'm going to give the win to Mari Screen. Okay, if you agree, disagree, or just have something to say, make sure to put it in the comment section below. I'll make sure to get back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like and subscribe. Please turn on that notifications, because I don't want you guys to miss any of this amazing MMA content. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Brendan Allen versus Kyle Dawkins is a middleweight bout. Brendan has achieved a record of 14 wins and just 3 losses. He's 24 years old, 6'2", and he has a reach of 75 inches. Kyle, on the other hand, has achieved a very nice record as well of 9 wins and 0 losses. He's 27 years old, 6'2", and has a reach of 76 inches. Okay, so Brendan has had 2 fights inside the UFC, and he did really well in both of them, with both fights ending up as a finish for Brendan. In his first fight against, at the time, 17-4, Kevin Holland, he was doing pretty good on the feet with pretty equal amount of strikes, I'd say. He also had 2 takedowns, which helped him land a submission in round 2. In his second fight against, at the time, 11-1 veteran Tom Breese, it didn't take long for Brendan to start raining down strikes on Breese until late in round 1, with like 30 seconds left, the fight was stopped. Brendan Allen does have some power with 5 total KO victories, but he's the best on the ground as he has 8 submissions. Kyle is also a submission specialist with 8 of his 9 wins coming from submission. Now, both fighters are really good on the ground, but I would say Brendan is the better striker with some pretty good power. I'm pretty sure even if this fight does go to the ground, Brendan will do better as he has experience against UFC talent, and Kyle Dawkins has been fighting pretty much nobodies and submitting them, unlike Brendan, who's fighting the best of the best. So I'm going to have to give the win to Brendan Allen. Okay, if you agree, disagree, or have something to say, make sure to put it in the comment section below. I'll make sure to get back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like and subscribe, and please put on notifications, because I gotta pump this channel up, get as many subscribers as I can, and I don't want you guys to miss any of this amazing MMA content. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Dustin Poirier versus Dan Hooker is the main event of UFC Fight Night Austin. Dustin has a record of 25 wins and just 6 losses. He's 31 years old, and he's a smaller fighter at just 5'8" tall, but he has a reach of 72 inches. Dan, on the other hand, is about the same age at 30 years old. He has a record of exactly 20 wins, 8 losses. He stands exactly 6 foot tall, and he has a reach of about 75 inches. Okay, so as you know, so far, Dustin was the closest fighter to beat Khabib, with almost getting that guillotine, but we all know he's been at the top for a while, fighting some really elite talent, including guys like Max Holloway twice, Chan Sung Jung, Cub Swanson, Conor McGregor, Michael Johnson, Anthony Pettis, Eddie Alvarez. I could go on. I will. Jim Miller, Justin Gaethje, and Khabib. Come on. This guy has fought and beaten some of the best. We have Dan, who has fought guys like Edson Barbosa, Gilbert Burns, Jim Miller, and Ali Quinta. But it's pretty obvious that Dan hasn't fought that many good guys. And he even lost to Edson Barbosa 2 years ago, who's on a 3-fight losing streak. In my opinion, I think wherever this fight goes, Dustin will have the advantage, and he'll do much better with much more experience and, in my opinion, much more skill. So I think Dustin's going to get the win, probably by Submission round 4. Alright, if you agree, disagree, or have something to say, make sure to put in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to get back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like and subscribe. It would be greatly appreciated. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns is the main event for UFC 251. Now, before I start the video, let's just take one big moment and just look at how absolutely amazing this card is. I mean, it's crazy. Okay, wow, this card's good. Alright, so Kamaru Usman has a record of 15 wins and just 1 loss. He's 33 years old, 6 foot, and has a nice reach of 76 inches. Gilbert has a very nice record of his own with 19 wins and 3 losses. He's also 33 years old, which means age won't really play a factor in this fight. Unlike the height difference, as Gilbert is only 5'8", which is 4 inches smaller. And he also has a much smaller reach at just 71 inches, which is also much, much smaller. Okay, so Kamaru is an undefeated fighter inside the UFC with 11 wins versus guys like Leon Edwards, Damian Maia, Rafael dos Anjos, Tyron Woodley, and, of course, we all know Colby Covington. Now, in his last fight with Colby, he had more strikes landed than Colby, and, I mean, the strikes that he was landing were spectacular, with most of them being able probably to break someone's jaw. Get it? No? Alright. Anyway, after the fight, you could see that Colby's strikes weren't really affecting him as much as Colby was being affected by Kamaru's strikes, which shows that Kamaru has some dang hard chin, and not to mention, he rarely bleeds. Like, when have you seen Kamaru bleed? There's probably some instances out there, but I rarely see this dude bleed. And, I mean, come on. He has the power to break another man's jaw. To break it. Not like fracture it or something. Break it. Like snap. That's crazy. And even with Kamaru's fight against Woodley, I mean, yeah, both Usman and Burns beat Woodley, but if you look at the stats comparison, Kamaru had 336 strikes compared to Woodley's mere 60, and he also had 2 takedowns in the fight, giving him the unanimous decision victory. Then you look at Burns. When he fought Woodley, yeah, he did destroy Woodley, obviously, but he had way less than half the strikes landed in his fight with Woodley compared to Kamaru's fight with Woodley. So, I mean, if you look at how much Usman just dominates his opponents, it's just crazy. Like, everyone he fights, he absolutely destroys. And with that being said, I'm going to have to give this win to Kamaru Usman. Alright, if you agree, maybe you disagree, or have something to say, make sure to put it in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to get back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like and subscribe with notifications turned on, because we are on that grind to 1,000 subs. And, I really need your guys' help. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway is a featherweight title bout. We have Volkanovski, who has a stunning record of 21 wins with just 1 loss. He's a bit older than Max at 31 years old, and he's also much smaller at just 5'5". He also surprisingly has a larger reach than Holloway at 71 1/2 inches. I mean, I don't know how he has a reach that's bigger than Max's, but okay then. Now, Max's record is a bit worse, but I mean, he was defending titles the whole time. I mean, what can you expect? Of course his records are going to have some losses. His record's 21-5. He's 28 years old and 5'9". He also has a reach of 69 inches. Okay, so for the last time they fought, they were on the feet the whole time with all of Volkanovski's takedowns failing. So I'm gonna say this fight's gonna stay up the whole time, like it did before. Now, the last time they fought, Max had a little bit more head strikes than Volkanovski, But that was because Volkanovski was trying to get more leg kicks, as that's kind of what Max is known for. Like he's known for moving around, picking his shots, and Volkanovski just wanted to eliminate Max's groove. He just wanted to eliminate it, so he couldn't really, move around. And so in the fight, Volkanovski actually had 75 significant strikes that were leg kicks. I mean, come on, 75? Are you serious? And, I mean, they actually affected Max quite a bit. He was moving a little bit slower. He wasn't grooving as much. So, I expect that in this fight, Volkanovski is probably going to go for a good amount of leg kicks, but I don't think as much as the last fight will land, as Max is probably going to be preparing for them right now. Now, I think even if Max takes the leg kicks away from Volkanovski, I still think Volkanovski is going to do a little bit better on the feet, as he's going to start to learn what Max does as he avoids his leg kicks. Then he could kind of like do a fake leg kick and maybe get some hits in. So, I mean, I highly doubt, it's a featherweight bout, so I highly doubt this fight's going to go to a finish or like KO or submission. So it's basically whoever does better on the feet. And Volkanovski is always better on the feet in the beginnings of fights, but he starts to fade a bit near the end, which is a way for Max to make his comeback. Now, I think if Volkanovski starts out strong, I think he'll probably win, but you never know with Max, because, if Max starts out strong, it's basically game over. As he starts out strong, he'll end strong because he has some absolutely crazy stamina. So, yeah, it's pretty much basically whoever starts out strong is most likely going to win. And it could be either one of them. But just because Volkanovski has his scary leg kicks, they'll probably lead to some shots for him, and probably a lot less shots for Max. I'm going to have to give the win to Alexander Volkanovski for his first title defense. Alright. If you liked the video, make sure to like the video. If you liked the video, also make sure to subscribe. Maybe put on some notifications. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Peter Yan versus Jose Aldo is a bantamweight title fight for UFC 251. Now, Jose has a record of 28-6. He's 33 years old and 5'6". He also has a bit longer of a reach with 70 inches. Peter has a record of 14 wins and only 1 loss. He's 27 years old, 5'6", and he has a reach of 67 inches. Alright, so Aldo is currently on a 2-fight losing streak to Marlon Moraes and champion Alexander Volkanovski. In the Volkanovski fight, which was up at featherweight, not bantamweight, Jose got basically whooped with more than 3 times less strikes and significant strikes than Volkanovski. And after that horrible loss, he was like, I'm done, and decided to move down to bantamweight to fight number 1 contender Marlon Moraes. In this fight, the striking was pretty much dead even, with the only thing really separating who won the fight being Marlon's takedown, which I guess sort of got him the victory. Now, some of you probably think that Jose won that fight, but even if he did, it wasn't really that impressive. I mean, he did only have 63 strikes the whole fight. Alright, so let's look at Peter Yan now. Now, Peter just joined the UFC in 2018. 2008, like that was like 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. And he's only had 3 victories in the 2018 against 3 nobodies until it came to 2019, where he won a dominant victory over John Dodson. Now, the fight after the John Dodson fight, I actually think he lost because he had way less significant strikes than Rivera and regular strikes, and Rivera is only the number 9th fighter. Now, the fight after that doesn't really matter, as it was against an aging Uriah Faber, who he dominated until round 3, where he got the knockout. So yeah, Jose Aldo may have beat Marlon Moraes, which would have made him the number 1 contender, which I actually believe he is. And I also really think that Peter Yan lost that fight to Jimmy Rivera, which would make him like the 9th, 8th, 7th, somewhere around there. And even though the betting odds are going for Peter, I'm going to have to pick the betting underdog in Jose Aldo to get his second belt. Alright, if you liked the video, make sure to like the video. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to put on post notifications if you don't want to miss any amazing MMA content. It's been fun, but I'm out. Zaleski dos Santos versus Muslim Zalikov is a welterweight bout. Now, Zalikov has a record of 16 wins, 2 losses. He's 36 years old, 5'9", and has a reach of 70 inches. Dos Santos, on the other hand, has a record of 22 wins and 6 losses. He's 33 years old, 5'9", and has a reach of 73 inches. Alright, so first off, Muslim only has 2 fights inside the UFC, which he actually won. The first fight in the UFC was a KO victory over 15-7 Noureddin Taleb. And in his second fight, it was a decision victory over Loreno Staropoli. Alright, now let's take a look at Dos Santos. He's actually been in the UFC since 2015, and he's had 10 fights in the UFC. He's 8-2 in the UFC. Some of the guys he's beaten, Zaleski dos Santos versus Muslim Zalikov is a welterweight bout. Now, Zalikov has a record of 16 wins, 2 losses. He's 36 years old, 5'9", and has a reach of 70 inches. Dos Santos, on the other hand, has a record of 22 wins and 6 losses. He's 33 years old, 5'9", and has a reach of 73 inches. Alright, so first off, Muslim only has 2 fights inside the UFC, which he actually won. The first fight in the UFC was a KO victory over 15-7 Noureddin Taleb. And in his second fight, it was a decision victory over Loreno Staropoli. Alright, now let's take a look at Dos Santos. He's actually been in the UFC since 2015, and he's had 10 fights in the UFC. He's 8-2 in the UFC. Some of the guys he's beaten are 20-4 Omari Ahmedov, Max Griffin, Lyman Good, previously 20-2 Sean Strickland, previously undefeated Luigi Vendramini, 17-5 Curtis Millender, and most recently 20-2 Alexei Kunchenko. Like, as you can see, this guy has beat some really good fighters, and his only 2 losses in the UFC were against the number 15th ranked welterweight and Nicholas Dalby, who is actually the only person to tie with Darren Till, who is about to complete a title eliminator. In my opinion, I think Dalby won that fight, and I think that one of the guys Dos Santos lost to was one of the 3 people to beat Darren Till. I think that fight was pretty close with Dos Santos and Dalby, but I mean, I think Dalby beat him, but for him to even have a close fight with someone, in my opinion, who actually beat Darren Till, someone who's about to compete in a title eliminator, that's just crazy. And by the way, Dos Santos is actually younger and more experienced than Muslim, and he has some crazy knockout power, so I mean, I just have to give this win to Alezu Zaleski dos Santos. Alright, if you agree, disagree, or just have something to say, make sure to put it in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to get back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like and subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss the absolute best MMA content. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Amanda Ribas versus Paige Van Zandt is a women's flyweight bout. Amanda is 9-1, she's 26 years old, 5'2", and has a reach of 66 inches. Paige, on the other hand, is 8-4, also 26 years old, 5'3", and has a reach of 66 inches. Amanda Ribas only has 3 fights in the UFC, and one of which was against, at the time, undefeated Mackenzie Dern. And all 3 opponents she absolutely destroyed. That's all I gotta say. Alright, now let's take a look at who Paige is beaten. And I have to say, it's basically nobody. As all the good people that she faces, she gets submitted by them. To be honest, both of these fighters haven't really beaten anyone. But, I mean, I've seen Amanda Ribas fight, and she did pretty good. And I think she'll probably get the decision victory over Paige Van Zandt. Alright, I know this prediction was short, but honestly, neither fighter has really done much of anything. And the thing that puts them apart is at least Ribas hasn't fought anyone with a losing record in the UFC. All the people she's fought in were actually good, you know? And another reason I'm giving her the win is just because in the Mackenzie Dern fight, she absolutely dominated on the feet. And she got a bunch of takedowns, which Paige is actually pretty easy to take down. Alright, if you agree, disagree, or just have something to say, make sure to put it in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to get back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like and subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss the absolute best MMA content. It's been fun, but I'm out of here.